Hare Krishna. I welcome you all to the discussion of Shri Upadeshamrita. Let us resume our discussion today. Let us begin with Mangalacharana. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnanatimirantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंकुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणा नानाशास्त्रविचारणैकनिपुणौ सद्धर्म संस्थापकौ लोकानां हितकारिणौ त्रिभुवने मान्यौ शरण्याकरौ राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्द भजनानन्देन मत्तालिकौ वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ. So yesterday and day before yesterday, we had covered verses 1 and 2. Verses 1 and 2 explain to us what should be avoided when we take to the path of bhakti. Verse number 1 tells us to control the 6 urges so that one can actually control one's mind and senses. And without controlled mind and senses, one cannot expect to be purified and one cannot expect to be eligible for pure devotional service. So unless one's mind and senses are controlled, one cannot one cannot stop from being perpetually involved in sense gratification. And when there is sense gratification, there is sinful life. And when there is sinful life, one cannot practice pure bhakti. Similarly, yesterday we had seen some more impediments which come as a result of uncontrolled mind and senses. They are atyahara, prayasa, prajalpa, niyamagraha, janasanga, laulyam. All the 6 we had seen. So today we will see what are the do's and a few don'ts also. Particularly, let us see what are the do's. So the third verse is like this. Utsahan nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vritte shatvir bhaktir prasiddhyati. So the third verse says, sorry, this is verse 3, not verse 2. Utsahan nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vritte shatvir bhakti prasiddhyati. That means there are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. What are those principles? Being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles of devotional service, that is Shravanam and Kirtanam, abandoning the association of non-devotees, following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. So these 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. So we had seen what are the don'ts in the last 2 verses. So in this verse, we will be seeing what are the do's. What are the 6 activities favorable for bhakti? One is utsaha. Utsaha means enthusiasm. Nishchaya. Nishchayat means firm faith. Dhairya. Dhairyat means patience or fortitude. Tattat karma pravartanat. Tattat karma pravartanat means principles favorable to bhakti. Sangat tyagat. That means abandoning. Tyaga means abandoning bad association. Sato vritte. Sato vritte means following the footsteps of previous acharyas and following the instructions given by them. So, Shatbir Bhaktir Prasiddhyati. That means these 6 activities assure advancement and success in bhakti without any hindrance. Now, before that, let us revisit the science and glory of bhakti. Now, bhakti is not the following things. What is bhakti not? Bhakti is not some imaginative ecstasy, or it is not some sentimental speculation. Many of us think that, when we ask many people in general, they say, already I have bhakti. Already I have respect towards the Lord. I have respect towards all gods. What is so special about Krishna? I know everything. I'm already from a pious family. So they imagine that they have bhakti. That's all. Probably they may know 1 or 2 things about bhakti, but most of it is simply some mental speculation or some imaginative ecstasy. That's all. But what is bhakti? Bhakti is not simply some kind of imaginative ecstasy. It is not that we imagine that we have bhakti and we feel very ecstatic sometimes. Or it is not any of our speculation of what bhakti is. Bhakti is a science. It is a science which is very, very elaborately explained by the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. It is explained by various acharyas. It is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is explained by many acharyas like Rupa Goswami. So bhakti is not a sentimental speculation, an imaginative speculation or some mundane sentiment, or not an imaginative ecstasy, or it is not just some, sentimental speculation or idle meditation. What is bhakti then? Bhakti is a science. Bhakti involves cultivation. So yesterday we had been discussing the seed of bhakti. The seed of bhakti is actually sown into the heart of a person by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord and Sri Guru. So when one receives that seed of bhakti, one has to actually very carefully water that seed of bhakti. So what is the water? The watering process is considered to be the different processes of bhakti, beginning with Shravanam Kirtanam. Shravanam Kirtanam, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. All these constitute watering that seed which one has received by the causeless mercy of Guru and Krishna. And at the same time, we had also seen one aspect of, cultivating that seed is to water the seed carefully. And another aspect is to remove the weeds also, so that the weeds do not suck the water which is actually supplied to the seed and the seed grows in a very healthy way. So therefore, if we see here, we see very clearly that bhakti is a kind of cultivation. It is a science. It is the supreme science actually. Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. Vidya, Raja Vidya. Krishna says bhakti to be Raja Vidya in Bhagavad Gita. It's the king of all knowledge. Raja Guhyam. It is the most confidential. Pavitram. It is the most pure. Idam Uttamam. Pratyaksha Dharmyam. Susukham Kartum Avyayam. So therefore bhakti is a science. And bhakti has to be cultivated. Just like the seed. The seed has to be cultivated very carefully. So that the seed, from the stage of a seed, it grows to a creeper and then a plant and then a tree. So therefore, this creeper has to be tended very, very carefully. So therefore, bhakti is a matter of cultivation. For that aspect, Many things in our life, any kind of lifestyle or anything, it's all a matter of cultivation. Relationship. If you want to strike a relationship with someone, then one has to cultivate the relationship. It is not that, say, for example, I join some new company, and then I want to cultivate I want to have a good relationship with my boss. Then what do? Do I suddenly start flattering him? No, that is not what is done. Very slowly and steadily, one actually is very conscious about his activities and how he is doing the work allotted to him. And then slowly one actually gains the favor of the boss. So that relationship is actually something which is cultivated. Similarly, bhakti is the relationship, the eternal relationship of the soul with the super soul or with the supreme personality of Godhead. So it's a matter of cultivation. So bhakti is practical action or cultivation. Cultivation means it should be very regulated and it should be guided. One cannot cultivate anything in a very whimsical or haphazard way. For example, if a seed is sown, can you just water it whimsically? Like one day I will put 10 buckets of water and for 10 days I will put no water. Can it be done like that? Then what will happen to the seed? Will it grow properly? No. So it has to be tended very, very carefully. It has to be watered in a very regulated way. And when it grows, it has to be watered in a different way. And all the weeds have to be uprooted. And then probably you will want to have a fence over that. So we have to take care of this seed very, very carefully so that it grows into a healthy plant. Similarly, the seed of bhakti, which all of us have achieved, or we cannot say the word achieved, seed of bhakti with which all of us have been gifted by the causeless mercy of Guru and Krishna. The very fact that we are actually into the Krishna consciousness movement and we are discussing the teachings of the Supreme Lord and the Acharyas, this itself is an indication that we are very specially favored by the Lord. So when that seed has been planted, one has to be very careful and one has to cultivate it properly. So therefore, what is Uttama Bhakti? Uttama Bhakti means Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavritam Anukulyena Krishnanu Sheelanam Bhaktiruttama. Therefore, that bhakti which is favorable, which is unmotivated, without any expectation in return, and which is devoid of karma, jnana, and all the other selfish desires. That is called Uttama Bhakti. Savai Pumsham Parodharmo Yato Bhakti Radokshaje Ahetuki Rapratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. Sutta Goswami tells to the sages of Naimisharanya. Savai Pumsham Parodharmo. What is that Parodharmo? Yato Bhakti Radokshaja. It is bhakti towards the Adokshaja, the Supreme Lord. And what are the qualities of that bhakti? The quality of that bhakti is that it is ahetuki. It is not motivated. Ahetuki apratihata. It is not motivated. It is not interrupted. So when one is cultivating this bhakti, it should not be with a motivation, except the motivation to serve and please the Supreme Lord. There shouldn't be any other motivation. And again, it should be uninterrupted. It is not that, one day you pour a lot of water. One day I chant 64 rounds. And for 10 days, I don't chant any rounds. One day I read Bhagavatam. I attend a Shravanam Kirtanam camp from morning to evening. At probably 2 or 3 days, I do that. And for months together, I do not do anything. So what we were discussing about the science and glory of bhakti. Bhakti is a practical action or cultivation. So bhakti is something which has to be cultivated very carefully, in a very regulated way. When it is very scientific, when it is a science, and when it is cultivation, it should be regulated and properly guided. So bhakti stops all our nonsensical mundane activities, because all our nonsensical mundane activities which we had been performing before bhakti are replaced by very, very meaningful activities. And bhakti engages one in meaningful devotional activities. So what is the first step in bhakti? Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. So one has to take guidance of a guru. One has to have Shraddha to take guidance of a guru. How should one take guidance of a guru? One has to approach the guru very sincerely. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Upadekshyanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshinaha. So one has to approach the Guru by submissive inquiries and by proper service attitude. So to attain success in Bhakti Yoga, one must perform devotional activities favorably under the guidance of Guru in all phases of life. This is very important. Bhakti is a cultivation. And in order that a seed is cultivated properly, it should be regulated and it should be guided by an expert. Otherwise, the seed cannot be cultivated properly. We cannot expect to whimsically water the seed and expect that the seed grows into a very beautiful tree. Can we do that? So as practicing devotees, one has, as practicing devotees, all of us have to take very important note of this. We have begun the process of bhakti. So it is very, very important to be under guidance of a spiritual master or the representative of the spiritual master or the spiritual guide or the spiritual well-wisher. It may be any term, but one has to have guided effort. It shouldn't be whimsical. Whimsical means I do so many things at one time and suddenly after some time I am nowhere to be seen. Then suddenly I come. Then suddenly I am not seen again. This is not bhakti. Bhakti means cultivation. Cultivation on a day-to-day basis, moment-to-moment basis. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. What is meant by Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya? It is not that just you attend some Bhagavatam Saptaha or something or whatever it may be. You attend something for some time and for days together you are not attending and suddenly you are seen again. This is not bhakti. Bhakti means regulated. Ahaituki apratihata. So in order for that regulation to be there, one must be guided. One must be guided by someone who is superior. So therefore one has to approach a guru. That is the very first step. In fact, Krishna also tells in Bhagavad Gita, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya. This is very simple to understand. Even in our, even in so many other endeavors, suppose, I have joined some organization newly. If I want to succeed in that organization, is it that, for 1 week, I, do so many things and show so many things that I have done this, I have done that. And suddenly for several days, I don't do anything. It is not that way, right? Cultivation means it should be regulated and it should be guided. So to attain success in Bhakti Yoga, and we had seen for any other process also, or even for very mundane, temporary material things, one has to be very regulated and one has to be guided with proper motivations, and that can be given only by someone who is superior. So therefore, one must perform devotional activities favorably under the guidance of the Guru in all phases of life. Now let us see the 6 elements favorable for devotional service. So once one has taken to the path of devotional service, then how should one serve or how should one render devotional service under the guidance of a guru? Under the guidance of a guru, that is there, because we all have Shraddha, Upadeshamrita is for all of us. So therefore one has to have the guidance of a spiritual master or a spiritual well-wisher or a spiritual guide, the most important thing. And once when one has the guidance of a guru, then how should one render devotional service is being discussed in this verse. One should render devotional service with utsaha, enthusiasm, nishchaya, faith, dhairya, patience, tat karma pravartanat, principles favorable to bhakti, sangat tyaga, one has to abandon bad association and one has to follow the previous acharyas, sato vritte, and these 6 activities assure advancement and success without any hindrance. Now let us start discussing each of these aspects. Utsaha. What is utsaha? Utsaha means enthusiasm. So activities in bhakti should be executed with great utsaha. So utsaha or eagerness in bhakti means what? Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. This is a very important point to note. Endeavor. Any endeavor which is executed with intelligence comes under utsaha. So therefore, all our endeavors must be properly guided. Only then it can be called as an intelligent endeavor. For example, the seed the very valuable seed which is sown in the ground, in a fertile ground. That seed has to be watered very carefully in a very regulated way under guidance of someone who knows how to cultivate the seed. Otherwise, the seed is not going to grow properly into a tree, or even if it grows, it's going to be very stunted. So therefore, endeavor executed with intelligence is called utsaha. Endeavor executed with intelligence means it should be properly guided. Therefore, when we have taken to the path of bhakti, we should not be whimsical in our activities. We should be properly guided. Only when we endeavor in bhakti under proper guidance, it is called utsaha. Suppose, most of us will experience this. Sometimes especially when we are new to bhakti, or when we have not seriously taken any guidance in our life, then what happens is, when suddenly we feel like, chanting 64 rounds, and we do that also. And after that, we don't feel like chanting at all. For several days we are missing. We are not seen before any devotees. Nobody knows why we have not been attending. Nobody knows these things. And suddenly we show up again. So this is very whimsical effort. This is not a properly guided effort. This is not called utsaha. This is actually utsaha dominated by the mode of passion. Suddenly we want to do something. We get some inspiration. Yes, I will do this. I will do that. I will hear 10 classes a day. Why should you hear 10 classes a day, even if it is related to Krishna consciousness? Don't we have other duties to do? Let us hear for, probably 1 hour, and let us study for some half an hour or so. And then we have many other duties to do also. And it is not that just by not doing these duties, we are very Krishna conscious. No. I have seen so many devotees. They neglect so many of their duties, other duties, in the name of Krishna consciousness. This is not a guided effort at all. This is a very whimsical way of practicing bhakti. So therefore, what is utsaha? Utsaha is that endeavor which is executed with intelligence. That endeavor which is properly guided by sadhu, guru and shastra. That refers to utsaha. When somebody is under guidance of a spiritual master or a spiritual guide or a shiksha guru, and you are accountable to that person in all that you do, then, and you want to serve the Lord in order to please this person, because this is the person, he is the person who is actually inspiring you in your Krishna consciousness. You would want to serve in order to please the Lord, and one very important aspect of pleasing the Lord is to please this person who is actually guiding you. So therefore, under the guidance of such a person, sadhu, guru, and as per the teachings of acharyas and the scriptures, whichever effort we put, that effort is actually counted under enthusiasm, with a very great eagerness to please them. That effort is called enthusiasm. Otherwise, it is not enthusiasm. It is called whimsical practice of bhakti. Therefore, another important aspect of enthusiasm is we follow the different angas of bhakti with great respect. The different angas of bhakti are described in the Nectar of Devotion. You can go through them. So following the different angas of bhakti with great respect. So one should not mistake enthusiasm, that flickering enthusiasm to be actual enthusiasm. That is actually a manifestation of mode of passion. When we do things whimsically, it is actually the manifestation of the influence of other modes, even in bhakti. So this is only for devotees. This Upadeshamrita is not for those people who do not have Shraddha in bhakti. It is only for people who have Shraddha in bhakti. So to remain indifferent to cultivation of jnana, karma. So even in material activity, we have seen success requires enthusiasm. Suppose you have joined some organization newly and you want to excel in some particular field. It needs a lot of enthusiasm, right? It should be regulated and properly guided with proper motivations. It should be firstly regulated. It should not be whimsical. It is not that, I do some work with great enthusiasm for a few days, and after some days, I don't show any enthusiasm. I don't show up at all. Even in material life, you cannot achieve success with such an attitude. What to speak of spiritual life or Krishna consciousness or bhakti, which is the highest highest activity. So one should accept this opportunity to go back to home, back to Godhead, and carry out the rules that enhance bhakti very, very enthusiastically. So this enthusiasm is very, very important in bhakti. And enthusiasm means not enthusiasm or not the endeavor as per our whims. Some days we may feel like chanting 100 rounds also. And several days we are missing. And some days you want to practice bhakti so much and you want to neglect all your other duties. Of course, one should understand that when we are very new to bhakti, Krishna will give us a certain taste to encourage us. The taste is correct. But it does not mean that we should not be under guidance. Generally, when we are very new to the process of bhakti or chanting, then we get some very special taste, that is Krishna's mercy. So that he gives that special taste so that we can be attracted to Krishna. But over a period of time, what happens is the taste is not available very easily. So one has to work hard in bhakti. So therefore, enthusiasm does not refer to the great eagerness you show without guidance. Enthusiasm refers to properly guided activity or the endeavor executed with intelligence. That is Krishna consciousness. It is not that suddenly, I do so many things. I hear 10 lectures a day and I neglect all my household duties. I neglect all my office work, all these things. This is not enthusiasm. This is just a manifestation of mode of passion. So whatever may be, whether one is new or whether one is little experienced, one has to always conduct oneself under guidance. Only then it is possible to maintain utsaha, and without this utsaha, bhakti will vanish. So, and another very important thing of utsaha is, in order to be enthusiastic about bhakti, one has to know the value of bhakti. For example, in order to be enthusiastic about anything in life, one has to know its value. There is one example I can give. I had a friend when I was studying in my 12th standard, or in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, it is called as intermediate second year. So that he was in my batch only in the college. He was the only one actually to clear the IIT exam, IIT entrance, without formally preparing for that exam. It's very, very, in the sense he is a specially gifted person, actually. He is very intelligent and he also works hard. He did not undergo any formal IIT coaching like everybody else undergoes, but still he cleared the entrance and he got admission into a prestigious IIT. But what happened is, when he, after going there, he did some unethical activity and he was subjected to a very strict punishment. And after a period of time, the punishment which was decided to be given to him was that he was actually rusticated from the institution. He was sent out when he was pursuing the second year or something. I don't want to get into what he did actually. That's not the point of our discussion. So the point is, everyone knows how valuable it is to get into an IIT. But sometimes what happens is the lower modes actually pull one to perform something which is not correct or which is detrimental to one's goal. So even after having got into that IIT entrance, so many lakhs of students appear for that entrance and very few are, maybe 5,000 or so are shortlisted in the entrance. Even after getting into that, somehow or the other, he could not understand the value of that. And he involved himself in some unnecessary activity because of which he had to be removed from the institution. So this is our case also. We do not properly understand the value of what we have received. Bhakti, what is bhakti? What is association of devotees? What is the association of guru? We don't sufficiently understand. We don't sufficiently value. That is the reason we are not enthusiastic. When we value something, we are very enthusiastic. A person who really values, if that person would have really valued what it is to be in the IIT, then that person would not have done that. He would have been in the most prestigious position, or he could have got a very, very good job, or probably he could have got admission in a very good university abroad, or whatever it may be. materially, and just for the sake of analogy, I am not recommending anything here, just for the sake of analogy. Similarly, bhakti is very rare. Human form of life itself is very rare. And in that human form of life also, bhakti, getting into the association of devotees, is even more rare. What can it do? It can just take us out from this material world. One can go back home, back to Godhead in this very lifetime itself, if one follows the process properly. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartinorjuna mamupetyatu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita that one can actually, from the highest planet to lowest planet, all planets are the planets of misery only in this material world. Mamupetyatu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. So when one goes back to this spiritual abode or the Vaikuntha or the Goloka, one does not need to come back here again. We don't understand the value of bhakti. That is why we are not sufficiently enthusiastic. If one is given a jewel, but does not know the value of the jewel, one will not be very enthusiastic about it. There is a pastime in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, how the Shamantaka jewel was actually given by Jambavan to his little son because he did not know the value. So therefore, the more one advances in Krishna conscious knowledge, the more one realizes the glory of Krishna and devotional service, and the more enthusiastic he becomes. So how to advance in Krishna consciousness? Regularly hearing about Krishna, regularly hearing about devotional service, like what all of us have been trying to do for the past several days. When we regularly take to the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, what happens is, the more and more we understand the glories of Krishna, the more we understand the glories of devotional service, the more we understand the value of devotional service. So regular Shravanam and Kirtanam is very, very important in order to maintain that Utsaha. So one can keep one's Utsaha by following the rules and regulations and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra regularly. It is not that one day you chant, one day you do not chant. One day you hear 10 lectures and for 10 days you don't hear even one lecture. You become negligent of so many other things in and around you. Hearing, going here, going there. Hearing from 10 different people. Taking 10 different opinions from 10 different people and not following anything. So this is not Utsaha. Although externally it may look like Utsaha, but actually this is not Utsaha because it is not properly guided. So one has to follow the rules and regulations properly, take to the process of chanting Hare Krishna mantra regularly, and one cannot sustain enthusiasm without a spiritual conception of life. This is a very important point to note. Unless one is actually situated in bhakti, all other enthusiasm which one shows are actually very temporary. One may be very enthusiastic for some material gain. If he gets that gain, he will lose enthusiasm after some time. If he doesn't get that gain also, he will lose enthusiasm. Suppose he is very enthusiastic to get a job in Microsoft. After he gets a job in Microsoft, that enthusiasm is gone. I mean, sometime it may be there, but again it is gone and some other thing he wants. But that is not a sustained enthusiasm. It's up, it goes down. It's up, it goes down. And if he does not get that, then again he is very broken. So one cannot sustain enthusiasm without a spiritual conception of life. That means unless one is actually situated on the platform of devotional service, his enthusiasm cannot be sustained. He may look enthusiastic, he may show off as if he is enthusiastic, but actually he is not enthusiastic. He cannot be enthusiastic. Only a person who is actually fixed in the path of bhakti, who is fixed in his knowledge about the Supreme Lord, who is fixed, who has a firm faith that only devotional service can actually save me, and only devotional service is the only meaningful thing in life. Only that person can actually be more and more enthusiastic. And enthusiasm that's built on passion does not sustain. The moment one does not get what one wants, the enthusiasm goes away. This is particularly the enthusiasm which I was talking about, which actually affects the practicing devotees. Sometimes our efforts are not guided. And then we tend to do so many things other than what is supposed to be done. When we have a guidance, when we are properly guided by Sadhu, Guru and Shastra, when we are properly guided by our spiritual well-wishers, then we understand what is my duty. If we are not guided properly, it may look like the activities are done it may look like whatever activities are being done are Krishna conscious activities, but actually that is actually not Krishna conscious activity. That is actually built on passion. And what happens the moment you don't get what you want, your whole utsaha goes down and you start blaming the Lord. You start blaming the devotees. And you just go away from Krishna consciousness. So that utsaha is not actually the correct utsaha. In utsaha that is built, that's based upon goodness sustains. Goodness means what? What is mode of goodness? Krishna speaks in Bhagavad Gita. One very important quality of the mode of goodness is knowledge. Enthusiasm which is based on knowledge. That is, he knows even if the results do not come, whatever activity I am doing is correct and it is purifying. So therefore he will be enthusiastic. But there is one enthusiasm which is the greatest enthusiasm. And that enthusiasm is the enthusiasm which is based on conception of the soul. That enthusiasm which comes when one is fixed on the path of bhakti, when one understands that, when one understands who is Krishna, who are we? When we understand who is Krishna, who am I? What is bhakti? What is my relationship with Krishna? And what is my duty? And when one takes to the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam regularly, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, when one takes to this process, then whatever enthusiasm one gets, that is unshakable enthusiasm. Because it is beyond the three modes. So one should always strive to cultivate a spiritual conception of life. So the more one has a deep understanding of this valuable gift, the more it is very easy to be enthusiastic. There is a very famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Durlabho manusho deho, dehinam kshana bhangura, tatrapi durlabham manye vaikunta priya darshanam. So Shukadeva Goswami says to Parikshit Maharaj in the 11th canto, for the conditioned soul, the human body is most difficult to achieve. And even more difficult thing to achieve is the association of pure devotees. So when we are on the path of bhakti, we should know that we have been given the most valuable gift in this whole cosmic manifestation. Nothing can be more valuable than what we have received. That is the seed of bhakti. And it's up to us to actually make proper, to understand the value of this gift by the regular process of Shravanam and Kirtanam, and to cultivate proper enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, another important aspect of enthusiasm is, when one is enthusiastic, one does not become negligent in any of one's duties. Suppose you find somebody, he may be hearing 10 lectures, but he is very negligent towards many other duties. Be assured that it is not correct enthusiasm. He may be doing so many things. He may be doing this, he may be doing that, but he is negligent of many other duties also. He is not taking care of his children properly. If he is not doing his job properly in the name of Krishna consciousness, this enthusiasm is not correct enthusiasm. When one is enthusiastic, one becomes attentive. He does not become negligent. He becomes attentive to every aspect in his life. It is not that only the direct activities of Krishna consciousness are relevant to him. There are so many things. Primarily, we are the body also. Of course, we are the soul. We have to practice bhakti, but we are the body also, right? So we have some duties on the bodily platform also. We have a wife, we have a spouse, we have children, we have our duties to do at office. All these things are also there. So one does not become negligent. So negligence is not enthusiasm. To be very enthusiastic in certain aspects of life and to be negligent, that is not enthusiasm. The sustained enthusiasm in bhakti, it requires full faith, that Shraddha, that Krishna will carry us where we are and where we want to go. So good association. How to have good enthusiasm? If you are in good association, automatically you will have good enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is ever increasing when one engages in devotional service with a spiritual conception. Because when one engages in devotional service, in pure bhakti, one may not be pure or perfect, but when one takes to the process sincerely, then one's enthusiasm is ever increasing. He is never down with anything. It is not that some days he is feeling down. Never. A sincere devotee never feels discouraged. He is always enthusiastic and his enthusiasm is ever increasing. One very prominent example in our community, in the devotee society, is His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Just see Maharaj's enthusiasm. I don't know how many of you are aware, but for people who are aware, this is the example. How enthusiastic he is. Despite all bodily inconveniences, despite facing so many problems, apparent problems, he never took them as to be problems. How enthusiastic he is, even in very small things in life. Whether it be watering a small tulsi plant, he is very enthusiastic and attentive towards that service. Or whether it be, hosting an international level GBC meeting. How enthusiastic he is. So this is one example. There are many examples. So immediately it came to my mind, so I gave that example. So facilitated by the spiritual conception, one gets closer or more intimately connected with the Supreme Lord. Now let us go to the next aspect called as Nischaya. Nischaya means confidence or faith. Activities in bhakti should be executed with utsaha, and they should also be executed with Nischaya, with faith. What is that faith? That faith means to have firm faith that to have firm faith in the statements of Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. To have firm faith in the statements of scriptures, in the statements of Guru. To have firm faith that bhakti alone is the ultimate objective of all living beings. There is no other process. This bhakti with which I have been gifted with, this is the ultimate objective of all living beings. I have got this very valuable gift. To have faith that this is the most valuable gift. And to have faith that all other activities other than bhakti do not yield any enduring benefit, but makes only one more and more restless. Faith in Lord's protection. A devotee thinks Krishna will always protect me. If I take to this process sincerely, Avashya Rakshibhe Krishna, Krishna will always protect me. Krishna promises Arjuna. Name Kshipram Bhavati Dharmatma Sashva Shantim Nigachyati Kaunteya Pratijanehi Name Bhakta Pranashyati. He tells Arjuna to promise. Kaunteya Pratijanehi. Oh, Arjuna, please promise that my devotee is never going to perish. So a devotee should have this faith that Lord will always protect me. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyatiti vishwaso goptritve varanam tatha atma nikshepakarpanye shatvidha sharanagati. This is a very famous verse. So what it tells about the 6 aspects of surrender, about sharanagati. Anukulyasya sankalpaha, accepting things which are favorable for bhakti. When one accepts things which are favorable for bhakti, pratikulyasya varjanam, when one rejects those things which are unfavorable for bhakti, then what happens? One should have faith. One should accept things which are favorable for bhakti, reject things which are unfavorable for bhakti, and by doing so, one should know that if I do this, Krishna will give me protection. Krishna will personally protect me. Accepting Krishna as one supreme maintainer and master. Complete dependence on the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So this is called as faith. Accepting things favorable for bhakti, rejecting things which are unfavorable for bhakti, and thereby having faith that Krishna is actually giving me all the protection and he is my complete maintainer and master. Now, let us come to the third aspect called as dhairya. Dhairya means patience, or it is also fortitude. So activities in bhakti should be executed with utsaha, with nischaya. Utsaha means enthusiasm, nischaya means faith, and dhairya means patience. This is very important. What is this patience? It is not that, one should not be very impatient about why one is not getting the result. This is very important. One has to endeavor enthusiastically with faith. Enthusiasm means what? Properly guided activity. Endeavor with proper intelligence. That means properly guided activity. One has to practice bhakti under guidance of a spiritual master and with faith that this is the highest process. And one should not be very impatient when one is not able to see the result. Dhairya, what it means? Dhairya means fortitude in the practice of bhakti, even in the midst of obstacles. Suppose one has taken to the process of bhakti, but one has not followed this aspect of taking guidance from a spiritual master, then what happens is he may show some enthusiasm. He may show so much enthusiasm, but what happens is when some obstacle comes, that person is nowhere to be seen. He's gone, that's all. So that enthusiasm, as we have discussed, is actually manifestation of mode of passion, the devotional activity. Of course, it is devotional activity, so Krishna will definitely help even that person. But again, one must know that that's not a properly guided activity. So therefore, one has to render this devotional service under guidance and with full faith. That is enthusiasm and patience. So one should have this. Dhairya is a result of being properly guided and having proper faith. When one is properly guided and when one has proper faith in the process of bhakti, then he will never leave bhakti, even in the midst of obstacles. So patience during the stage of bhakti, even when there is a delay in attaining one's desired goals, one should be very, very patient. In fact, as we have discussed, patience is a manifestation of proper enthusiasm and proper faith. When one is properly enthusiastic and when one has proper faith, then one automatically has proper dhairya or proper patience. So some good examples are given. One should not be impatient that one is not getting the result. One may say, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying. What is he praying? Nayanam galadashradharaya vadanam gadgadaruddhaya gira pulakaya nishitam vapukkada tavanama grahane bhavishyati. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays that I am not able to, when will I get tears in my eyes? When will the hairs on my body stand on their end? So this is the highest level of practice of devotional service. So one should be very patient. One should know that the process is perfect. I am not perfect. Therefore, if I stick to the process very faithfully, definitely one day I will get the result. But that is not in my hand. What is in my hand? Whatever is in my hand is only my sincere practice. That's all. Practice under guidance, in a regulated way, and with faith. This is called dhairya. Automatically one gets this dhairya or patience. So therefore, one should not be impatient. Rather, one should take the instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. I may get the result. I should not be very captivated with the result. If I don't get the result, I should not be impatient. What should I be enthusiastic about? I should be enthusiastic to actually please Krishna. If I stick to the process enthusiastically, under guidance, in a regulated way, with faith and with patience, Krishna will be pleased. That is my whole objective. My whole objective is not to achieve something in Krishna consciousness. To stick to Krishna consciousness itself is a big achievement. My aim is not to, achieve something. Some people become disturbed, especially in the beginning stages of bhakti, when some very unfavorable situation happens. They start even blaming bhakti. This is because their efforts are not guided. One may be chanting, but one may not be under guidance of some well-wishing Vaishnava or a guru. Then when something happens, he can even become very impatient and he can even blame the Supreme Lord. That because I was chanting, something happened. Even that is possible. So therefore, one should not be impatient and one should take the instructions from Guru and execute them with patience, knowing that sticking to this process itself is the biggest achievement. I may or may not get whatever result I am desiring immediately, but sticking to this process itself is a very great thing. So therefore, one very good example is a newly married girl. She cannot expect to have a baby immediately after marriage. This is the example given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport to this verse. So therefore, one girl may get married. But if she wants to have a child immediately, is it possible? It is not possible, right? To desire is not wrong. But to expect that she should, get pregnant immediately, that is not possible. That, will not happen. So what should the newly married girl do? She should wait. Desiring is correct, but she should wait. She should become submissive to the husband. Because that is her Sri Dharma, because that is her syllabus. So she should do her duties properly, and the husband also should do his duties properly. And then, in a very religious way, they can try to beget a child. And it may happen immediately, it may not happen. That is definitely not in one's hand. But one should not become impatient because it's not happening. Over a period of time, definitely it will happen. It is not that she should become impatient and she should take some other course of action because she's not able to bear children, or because the conception is not happening. Is it that she should leave the husband and go? No. When you know that your husband is a good person and you have married that person, and by Lord's arrangement you have got that person in your life to follow your dharma properly and to ultimately achieve bhakti. So when you know that, and when you are not getting the result, you should not become very impatient. You should know that you are in the right path, and someday or the other it will happen. That is not in your hand. Result is not in your hand. Proper effort, properly guided effort, under the guidance of spiritual master, under the guidance of devotees, in a very regulated way, with patience, that is in your hand, and with faith. Otherwise, the other result is not in one's hand. So therefore, one should be just enthusiastic about performing one's duty properly. That's all. Not about the result. That is what in fact Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyevarikadasya ma phaleshu kadachana. You are not entitled to the results. So do not be attached to the result. And do not be attached to not doing your duty also. You do your duty. That's all. As an offering to the Supreme Lord. So therefore, we should also follow the process of bhakti very faithfully in order to please the Supreme Lord. That itself is the success. Other things may come. It will definitely come. Lord will test us. It's not a cheap thing that you will get immediately. He will test us. He will test our sincerity. But definitely Lord will actually take us to the highest position in devotional service if we are sincere. So, if you see this movement also, which was started by Srila Prabhupada, it was started single-handedly. There was no response to Srila Prabhupada when he went to the United States. But he and all the other devotees actually adhered to these principles. They were performing their duties, the Krishna conscious duties, in a very regulated way, with lot of enthusiasm, with lot of faith, with lot of patience. And slowly, many people started coming, and today it's a very, very big movement. So one should have firm faith that the path of bhakti alone is the sole constitutional path for all the jivas. So therefore, adhering to this process of bhakti itself is a big success. Despite any situation in one's life, never leave the process of bhakti. Only then one can attain the highest platform of bhakti. So determination to remain on the path of bhakti without slackening one's execution. For example, Haridas Thakur is there. Haridas Thakur was actually beaten in 22 marketplaces. What happened? Haridas Thakur said, even if my body is cut into several pieces, and it may, I will never abandon chanting Hare Krishna. So this is the patience which one should have. Tat karma pravartanat. That means executing the principles. What are those principles? Tat karma pravartanat means to enthusiastically, faithfully, and strictly follow all the principles that nourish bhakti. And laxity in following the principles, the regulative principles, will actually check one's progress in bhakti. So what are the principles? Yesterday we had seen the rules and regulations, right? Niyamagraha and niyamagraha. The principles means the rules and regulation constitute of two things, the vidhi and the nisheda. What has to be done, what should not be done. So these things one has to very faithfully adhere to. If something is to be done, one should very enthusiastically and faithfully do that. If the regulative principles are to be followed, one has to be very enthusiastic in following them, because that is going to protect my bhakti. That is going to, very swiftly advance me. Krishna is going to be pleased if I follow the regulative principles properly when performing bhakti. So vidhi is there and the nisheda is there. There are certain things which one should not do. And let us avoid them enthusiastically, knowing that it is not good. For example, to wear a mask. during this COVID situation. One wants to go somewhere. He wants to, now anyway it has opened up. Many places have opened up now. He is very enthusiastic about protecting himself, right? He wants to go, but he is very enthusiastic to take some precaution. So he wears a mask. And one does not do certain things which are not supposed to be done with great enthusiasm. Because what is the goal ultimately? The goal is to protect yourself from COVID, right? And reach wherever you want to go safely. It's just an example. So we do certain things and we avoid certain things enthusiastically because we do not want to get affected. Similarly, in bhakti, we have to do the vidhi, whatever is mentioned in vidhi or prescriptions or the injunctions, and follow this vidhi and nisheda. Both of them we should follow very enthusiastically without any neglect. What is the vidhi in bhakti? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Padasevanam. Hearing about Krishna, chanting Krishna's name. They should be done very enthusiastically, very faithfully, very strictly. Every day. Some days we may not have enthusiasm. That's very normal. If you have enthusiasm, it's a very rare thing. To not have enthusiasm is normal. Some days somebody may say, I am not attending the Bhagavatam class. I am not, coming to the Bhagavatam class. I am not feeling enthusiastic, Prabhu, today. Prabhu, to not feel enthusiastic is natural. We should not give so much attention to it. If you are feeling enthusiastic, it is very important. To not feel enthusiastic is very natural for a diseased person. A diseased person having jaundice will definitely not feel very enthusiastic to take the medicine or to take that sugar candy, which tastes very bitter to him. But taking the sugar candy is the only way to cure that jaundice. Similarly, we may definitely be in a conditioned stage, we will not feel enthusiastic, to follow these rules and regulations, to take to the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam regularly. But we should know that we are in a diseased condition. It is not the problem with the process. It is the problem with us. So therefore, we are diseased. So therefore, it is we who have to get cured. So therefore, we have to take to this process very enthusiastically and very faithfully. We may not be enthusiastic. Many times, enthusiasm doesn't come. It happens with everybody. It is not only with one section of devotees. It happens with everybody. We feel lazy sometimes. But we should know that our feeling of lazy is because of our diseased condition. And we should know that we have to get cured. So therefore, we have to take to this process very strictly, enthusiastically, more importantly, enthusiastically. Prohibition. We have to see what all activities are prohibited and we should avoid those activities also very enthusiastically. And what is the purpose of that enthusiasm? The purpose of that enthusiasm and faithfulness and patience is to actually achieve the highest destination. That is the motivation. It is not that you want to achieve anything different. That is why you are actually following it with enthusiasm. No. What is our destination? We have to go back home, back to Godhead. So therefore, we have to take to the syllabus and we have to take to the vidhi and nisheda very, very faithfully. So with utsaha, nischaya and dhairya, one must actually take to tat karma pravartanat. Sangatyaga. Now what does Sangatyaga mean? Sangatyaga means avoiding materialistic association. Janasanga, what we have seen yesterday, it is similar to that. What does undesirable association include? Include the association of karmis, jnanis, yogis, or asat sangatyaga, e vaishnavachar, stri sangi, eka ashadu, Krishna bhakta ar. So it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita. A Vaishnava should always avoid the association of ordinary people. Common people are very much materially attached, especially to women and money also. So Vaishnavas should avoid the company of those who are not devotees of Krishna. So avoiding means what? It does not mean not being cordial to them or not being respectful to them. One has to be cordial to everyone and one has to be respectful to everyone because everyone is a part and parcel of Krishna only. Everyone is the Lord's child. Somehow some children are little misguided. It is not that we are very great either. Somehow we are very fortunate. We are not great. We are fortunate. We should remember this. We are not great. We are fortunate and it is our duty to make others also fortunate if possible. And we should try to do that. It is not that not associate means. Association means what? One should not one should not go into very deep discussions with them, and one should not reveal one's mind and everything to them. That's all. It does not mean that you should not even speak to them, or you should completely, turn your face away from them. That is not what is meant by avoiding. Avoiding means you should be cordial, but you should avoid becoming intimate in your relationship with them. With people who are attached to anything other than Krishna and Krishna's service. You should not take them very seriously, but you have to respect them. You have to be cordial to them. And if possible, you have to make them also fortunate. Someone was very kind to us. That's why we are able to follow this process of bhakti, right? It's not our qualification, it is not our greatness, it is our fortune. For keeping such bad association at a safe distance, one should live and adopt the ways of pure devotees. How much distance do we keep from a patient who has COVID? We don't even go near that person, right? We try to, we just don't even go near that person. So therefore, we should keep such bad association at a safe distance. And one should adopt and live a pure life as according to the principles laid down by our Acharya. This is the fifth principle, Sangatyaga. Sato Vritti, following the footsteps of previous Acharyas or following the instructions given by the previous Acharyas. That means to adopt good behavior and virtuous conduct of pure devotees. And the Acharyas, they are very, very compassionate to people in general. They have given us a schedule in which every moment of our time can be filled with Krishna consciousness activities. They are so compassionate. Srila Prabhupada and all the other Acharyas, they have given us so many teachings to follow. For example, now we are studying the teachings of our Acharya Rupa Goswami. So Srila Prabhupada has given us, he is another Acharya. He has given us a schedule. Our founder Acharya, he has given us the schedule which we have to follow. Morning Mangalarati, then Tulsi Puja, then immediately chanting, then Bhagavatam class, then again your respective duties or your respective services, then again evening Sandhya Arati, then Bhagavad Gita class. So in this way, keeping us in view, they have given us a schedule in which we will be always engaged and busy in executing the actual purpose of our lives. So one has to follow the instructions given by those great Acharyas who have been very, very kind to us and to the entire humanity. So let us conclude by revisiting the glories of Bhakti Yoga. Engagement in Bhakti is the life and soul of every living entity. So therefore one has to nurture this creeper very carefully. One has to avoid what we had discussed in the first two verses, and one has to take to Utsaha, Nishchaya, Dhairya, Tatat Karma Pravardhana, as we have discussed in the third verse. Because engaging in Bhakti is the desired goal and the supreme perfection of life. And by doing so, by following this process of Bhakti, by taking very carefully, by paying attention very carefully to the do's and the don'ts, and by taking to this process, one will never fall down and one will actually achieve the supreme perfection. And success is definitely guaranteed. There is no doubt about that. So bhakti is not the effect of any mundane cause, nor can it be terminated. And one should be assured that all good qualities automatically develop in the character of a devotee when a practicing devotee is taking to this process by following these principles. So we will end the discussion today. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Or anything anyone wants to share?
In everything they are telling that you should find a guru. And if you don't know who is the guru, how to find a guru?
Very good question, Prabhu.
See, I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. I cannot go to temple and find out a guru and all. I don't know who is correct, who is wrong. There's so many devotees are there who are following Casey, this thing. So how to find a guru?
Very good
if
question.
If I pray, will the guru will come? Will guru will bless me? Will guru will call me?
You don't need to find a guru, Prabhu. The guru will be gifted. But what you can do is whosever association you feel you are gifted as of now, you can take that association seriously. Okay? It is not that you are not gifted
So you
with
can take the
anyone's
advices
association.
of all those devotees, you mean to say?
Pardon?
Okay, okay, Prabhuji.
No, if you feel that you have been benefited by a certain devotees, then that devotee is also a representative of Guru only in your life.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. See, Guru does not necessarily means only the person who gives you initiation. He is also a Guru, but it is not restricted to only giving one initiation. A Guru can be anyone. Anybody can be a representative of Guru. In fact, the person who gives you initiation, he is the Diksha Guru. But you may have any other Siksha Guru also. So Guru means he is a person who actually guides you in your spiritual life.
So he is a Siksha Guru. That's what you mean to say, right?
There are different levels of Guru, but ultimately a Guru is a person who actually guides you in Krishna consciousness. Anyone who guides you in Krishna consciousness is the representative of Shri Guru. Guru is a Tattva, Guru Tattva. Anybody who actually guides you in Krishna consciousness, he is actually a representative of Shri Guru. Okay? So you don't need to worry so much that you are not finding a Guru. Whosoever association you feel you are inspired, that person also is actually a representative of the Guru only.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one
Okay.
more thing. Chanting I am not able to
Yes.
do in the early morning every day. The whole 16 rounds. I take from morning 5 o'clock till night 9. I split up and do. How to improve that?
Yes, that's actually a correct question. One has to practice, Prabhu. There is no alternative to that. One has to practice a certain lifestyle in which one is able to chant most of the rounds during the morning time. There is no replacement for practice. And of course, Abhyasa and Vairagya. One should have practice and one should also depend on the Lord's mercy. And both can be done when you are under guidance. Looks like there are no more questions. Thank you so much for your enthusiastic participation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,